two college radio DJs during the 90s, hosts Keith and Steve, helped expose bands like Nirvana, Pavement, and PJ Harvey. They went to shows, interviewed musicians, and reviewed albums with batteries signed their papers. They worked security at concerts and once even been voted for Fish. Now, they're dads. Whether you want to explore lesser-known music or take a trip down memory lane, tune in to New Dad Rock. Join hosts Keith and Steve as they navigate the ages together, sharing their love of music across various eras and genres. Always well-intentioned, often well-informed, seldom boring, the New Dad Rock will expand your mind.
Welcome to the New Dad Rock.
Hey Keith, and welcome listeners. As you may recall, we started this podcast back in May of 2020, relatively early in hindsight, in the pandemic, and at the height of COVID lockdowns.
The beginning and the height are almost the same, actually. Or
But
were.
we didn't know that then.
Maybe.
But I don't want to get into a whole scientific, political, pseudoscience discussion. What I just wanted to make reference to was that one of those very first episodes was about COVID live streams.
And when you introduced me to Aranzi Pazuzu.
Right, that was the best COVID live stream, and I feel like at that point we don't need any more. But as 21 turned into 22, COVID live streams are back.
Hey, man, I love the live streams. I mean, I think there was an OC's live stream. I think there was a Fax live stream. Live streams were good.
Yeah, they were good, and I appreciate the fact that I can lay in my bed or sit on my couch and watch a show.
Dude, actually, to be fair, because I have kids and I can't go out late because I'm old and tired. But like, I actually had the really good time during 2020 with all the live streams and the DJ sets online. I mean, it was really good. I have gone to a couple concerts. I went to 2 in one night, and that was neat. But I missed what was on live streams.
See, I agree and disagree with you at the same time. I think it was cool that you had access to all of these different shows, so you did get to see a bunch of shows you otherwise might not have gone to. But at the same time, I've seen 2 live shows in 2021. I did 2 weeks in a row, I think. But just being there, the first one I saw was Primus, and it was just so nice and warm to be back there and feel the setting and the music just enveloping you, surrounding you, not like on a screen that you're separated from, your kids walk in the room while it's on. Like, it's...
Yeah, I agree. And obviously. I do think a lot of more young people are going to shows, though, so it's hard for me to imagine myself being there at midnight when a band goes on. But anyway, so there's a lot of good New Year's Eve shows that I thought were coming up, and they didn't happen.
Yeah, well, I think there was a pretty high-profile one with, Fish every year. They play Madison Square Garden for New Year's Eve and roll it in and come in on a big flying banana or something. I think it was a hot dog they came in on once. But they couldn't do their show at Madison Square Garden, so they're like, what are we going to do? And they went to some other venue in Pennsylvania and played their normal set, except in front of an empty room.
Yeah. It was north of Lancaster, PA, at Rock Lidditz Studio in Lidditz. It was called the Ninth Cube, which, by the way, has some crazy-ass background I'm not even go to. Remember in 2018 at their New Year's Eve show, or maybe it was the Halloween show, they played as a prog rock band from Scandinavia. It's all connected to that. So they have all this faux mythology that I don't understand.
Okay, well, I tuned into some of the New Year's show for Fish, and it was not any prog rock science fiction thing.
It wasn't.
It was a little weird, though, in that they're playing songs, and they almost seemed tentative, especially at the beginning of the set. And the banter in between songs was very awkward. Like, they would finish the song, and when you normally hear a crowd roar with applause and, you feed off that energy, they're just kind of looking at each other like, hey, guys, you're playing a song.
I noticed that, too, by the way. Is like, you're exactly right. Like normally the crowd would be cheering and they're tuning their instruments or they're resting, catching their breath, or drinking some water, but they couldn't do that, so they'd have to say something. And it was like people were live streaming one of my band's practices. We do a song, and then like maybe you do 2 songs in a row, and it's awesome, and you jam into one to the other. But then you take like a 1 to 4 minute break, which live is okay because there's people cheering and blah blah blah. But yeah, on a live stream, that's not happening.
Yeah. So, I mean, there were a couple times they got into songs and really lost themselves, so it was cool. But another one that was canceled, and it was you got to be expecting this at this point. I talk about them almost every episode. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard had live shows. They had a series of live shows the week before Christmas, and they had 5 consecutive nights, I think, in Brisbane. Is it Brisbane or Brisbane, Australia? Do you know how to say it?
I'm going to say... No, I don't know how to say it, but I'm going to say Brisbane, but I bet it's Brisbane.
Okay. So anyway, 5 nights in a row, they had theme sets, and so much time went into this that they set up Spotify playlists to let you know what they're going to play each night. Like they had an acoustic night, they had a jam night, they had a microtonal night, and the final night of the thing was the metal night. And because some people got COVID in the venue, they had to shut down the show and they had to cancel it. So Metal Night did not ever happen. And that was before Christmas. And then for New Year's, they were supposed to have this Timeland festival, out in the bush and play similar to Fish, like 6 sets over 2 nights, that sort of thing. And they had to cancel that. But over the last few days with all this COVID going around, or over the last few weeks, I should say, kind of laying low, staying in, isolating, that sort of thing. I've been spending a lot of time in my room.
Isolating? Are you quarantining?
Yeah, so after some COVID exposure over the holidays, I ended up isolating and watching a lot of TV in my room.
Dude, was it awesome? I mean, not the exposure, but the isolation.
I have to say... I'm one of the people that kind of liked staying home a lot more during the initial COVID scare of 2020.
You had a commute from hell.
Yeah, so I was glad to be a little bit more of a homebody. I think after 2 hours, I felt like a prisoner. Like I went outside, walked around my backyard by myself. It was like I was under surveillance. I didn't want to get in the car.
Dude, your commute to work every day is an hour and a half each way. I don't see how you can feel like a prisoner after 2 hours.
No, that's why, because I'm used to traveling so much. Between that and my weekend skiing, I'm used to being out and about and constantly in motion.
Yeah,
so I was
totally
cooped up on a cold, rainy, gray afternoon. I brought my record player up into my room. I had another Bluetooth speaker in there. I started watching this season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia that I hadn't started. It was like I had my own room for the first time in 25 years.
All right, so are you trapped in your room, or are you protected in this room while you're in quarantine?
That's the question, isn't it? I mean, everyone in my family is going around with a mask. We're all staying away from each other. Like we have meals in 2 separate rooms, so we can spread out far enough. I had dinner with my youngest daughter in one room, and my wife and another daughter in the other room, and I think my third daughter was up in her bedroom. It's weird.
All right, so wait, how was it having your own room?
Like I said, it was like the first time in 25 years. So I'm listening to music.
You mentioned that you brought your record player upstairs. What records did you bring up?
So I had... Well, you mentioned them before. Aransi Pazuzu. I had 2 or 3 of their albums. I had a bunch of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard albums. An Iron Maiden, a Liars record. Just a few that I brought up. But I spent most of the time listening to live King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Man, I feel like King Gizzard is what Olivia Tremicole could have been.
Yeah, if they had any sort of ability to finish an album. Remember, they had those excellent albums. They had Dusk at Cubist Castle and
Black
Foliage, Animation Music. Yeah, those 2 came out, and then their follow-up never really came.
There was no follow-up.
And then they broke into Circulatory System, and Circulatory System had 1 album, and then there was a long time before follow-up there. And I think it was a big collective like that. But King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard pull things together. They take a lot of different sounds. Each album is like a 40-minute set in a different motif, sort of.
Genre. Yeah,
so
sure.
they did 3 albums with microtonal tunings. Their most recent album, they put out a couple albums in 2021, but as of this recording, they could put 2 more out by the time this goes to press. Was Butterfly 3000, and it was almost like synth pop for the first time ever. It still had their voices and their kind of nuance, but at the same time, it's all in major keys and it's very sunny and electronic, which is strange for them. But it makes sense because you're putting together music over quarantine, 6 disparate guys in 6 disparate locations trading files over the internet. So it makes sense. Yeah.
Really? Wait.
Their last 3 albums they did that way.
Is it because Australia's locked down or because their 6 players live in different places in Australia?
The former.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Australia had a crazy lockdown. I agree.
Yeah, they did initially. So they did 2 of their microtonal albums like that, and their Butterfly KGLW, and then Butterfly 3000. And in between, they played a handful of live shows. I mentioned the 4 they played in December in Brisbane. They had a few more before that. They played Melbourne and Sydney earlier in the year.
Wait, aren't they from Melbourne?
They are from Melbourne. And the beauty of the Giz is they share these files, they put them out in the universe, and the Gizverse, as it's called, and you can basically take the file. You can take the file and press your own record. So they don't even have to handle the making or distribution of albums, and they just come out into the world. Like we talked about the episode in Polygon Wonderland, how they open source that.
Yep.
They have a number of live recordings that they've done that for as well.
I'd really like to hang out with these guys and like query their political views for an hour or so over beers.
Well,
I'm really curious.
You don't really have to look too far to find their political views because they're pretty clear on the lyrics. Supreme Ascendancy is deriding the rise of some right-wing action in Australia. They have a number of pro-environmental. Melting is about the world is melting down. So it's pretty clear where they stand politically.
Are they like 10 years younger than us? I'm guessing by their first album.
They're almost 20 years younger than us. I know Stu McKenzie, the main guy, was born.
Shut the fuck up.
A couple months after I graduated high school.
I don't want to. Okay, we're gonna delete this part, dude. They're so good. I get it, man. Hey, how do you think about youth being like the actual like value? Like in 10 years, they won't be as good. Like people who discovered calculus, like Leibniz and Newton, they were young. What do you think?
I think most of humanity and most of the world, if you look at the output that was created by people between ages 20 and 40, or you could even bring it back 20 and 35, whether it's a work of art, whether it's science, whether it's philosophy,
math,
any of these things, music. I bet if you look at that 20 to 40 range or 20 to even 35 range, it's going to outpace by far the outlier ages.
So I should just stop trying?
At this point, yeah. I mean, there's very little hope for us here, which is why we're trying to talk about, look, we're trying to hold on to the youth and bring the dad rock into the future, and I think maybe is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard the future?
Dude, I definitely think they are harbingers of the times. I respect the creativity of this group. I gotta say, it's interesting with my kids. Like they're 11 and 8 now, about to be 12 and 9, and yep, you're right. They have it all, and I have nothing.
Well, what they have is, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and whoever comes beyond them. I think the Giz, one of the things I thought was interesting a couple albums ago. I think it was just 2019, which is like 5 albums ago now. It was called Fishing for Fishies, and again, it was a pro-environmental statement related generally, ostensibly, to overfishing. But at the same time, are they fishing for the people who are into fish? It's
the band fish?
Yeah, it's an open question. They've become a little bit more jam-based. In recent interviews, Stu McKenzie, their leader, has said that they want to get back into a little bit more of a free-form structure. And Joey Walker, one of their other guitarists, has shown admiration for people who are able to improvise, such as Miles Davis or something along those lines.
Hey, you just sent me a video. It was like a video. It wasn't a fake video. It was a real video of like two guys had a show.
Right.
Like we were here or something. And it was a leaked version of their next album or something.
Okay, so it's a good question as to what it was. It's called Timeland. So Timeland was their New Year's Eve, New Year's Day festival that was canceled because of COVID. Part of the admission was the 2,000 people that were admitted were getting this record. So a record exists. It's called Timeland. And it was 2 songs, one on each side, 15 minutes long. And the one I sent you was Smoke and Mirrors.
Wait, but who's talking about it? Who are those 2 VJs, video jockeys?
Honestly, I don't even know. I skipped through that section because I just wanted to hear the song. I didn't really.
Oh, that's so funny. I thought that was us. I thought that's why you sent it.
It did kind of remind me of us, but also our Going to Polygon One Land episode, we listened to that. We didn't talk over it. These guys talked over the music, and it did bother me.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, that bothered me.
They're like getting into it.
That's
going,
really cool.
I'm like, I don't need to hear this.
Yeah, totally.
So,
I hear you.
Is it their next album? Open question. They're supposedly in demo form, the songs that are released on that vinyl. So maybe it's a precursor to an upcoming album. I'm sure, having only released 2 proper albums in 2022, they've got at least 3 more for 2022. They only released 2 in 2021. That was a tongue twister.
Man, they're slacking off. He's getting old. He's almost 30, I bet, right?
I think he's 31.
Oh, yeah, he's done for.
Yeah. So through COVID, he had an infant, like a 1-year-old baby girl at home, put out 3 albums, recorded remotely. They're... at first when I heard of this band, I thought they were a bunch of drug addicts or speed freaks or something.
That's what I thought too.
You look at them, they're clearly not. They are just touched and into the music. And it's their life. Yeah. It's their reason to breathe.
The talent we don't have. Yeah, the talent we don't have. I agree. Yeah. We've met a few of these people. I think Eugene's one of them. So there's someone who's just always on. Right. It's very musical. I appreciate that. I'm excited for the next album. I'm excited to see them live. They're playing all over the place next year. If you haven't seen them and haven't gone to a live show, you should go to a King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard show. They're playing America all next year.
Next year is also this year.
I'm sorry.
We've gone into 2022.
But it's only been like 20 hours, so I'm still confused.
Yeah. So... I mean, I think it's an open question as to whether these shows go off. I mean, are we headed back like a Mobius strip or, like Nonagon Infinity wrapping itself around? Are we going back into quarantine? Are we going to be dealing with this again?
Nah, you know what? People just don't care anymore. What happens is it's been so long, you're like, I'd rather take life over death, even if death follows from life. So I think we're going to have the shows. I'm excited by the Omicron vaccine that's happening now to everyone. Like, I feel this is how a virus becomes endemic.
I don't know, Keith. Whether the shows go on, they don't go on, whatever happens, dear listener, you know that the new Dad Rock will be here for you. We are here.
Everyone, stay safe, keep your love, and see you soon.
We are the new Dad Rock.